The man who outgrows the tribe, why independence is the ultimate rebellion. There comes a moment in a man's life when the voices around him no longer sound like truth, just noise. The rules, the rituals, the endless need to belong suddenly feel like a cage dressed as comfort. You look around at the tribe you've always known and realize they don't know who you are becoming, and they don't want to, because when a man no longer needs the group, he becomes something dangerous, not to himself, but to the system that needs him silent, obedient, and small. They will say you've changed. They'll say you think you're better than them. But the truth is simpler. You just started listening to your own soul, and you finally heard it say, "Leave." There are nights when I sit in the darkness of my room, watching shadows dance across the walls, and I feel the weight of something I cannot name. It's the weight of becoming something else, something apart from what I once was, from who they expect me to remain. I remember the warmth of belonging, the comfort of shared laughter around familiar tables, the unspoken agreements that bound us together like invisible threads. There was safety in that collective heartbeat, in being one voice among many, singing the same old songs our fathers sang and their fathers before them. But something shifted. Perhaps it was gradual, like moonlight slowly revealing what daylight conceals. Or perhaps it happened all at once, a sudden awakening that left me standing on the outside of my own life, looking in through windows that no longer felt like home. The first crack appeared when I began to question the things we never questioned. Why do we celebrate what we celebrate? Why do we fear what we fear? Why do we repeat the same stories, the same judgments, the same limitations, as if they were gospel truth carved in stone? I felt like a traitor to my own blood. Jung would call it the emergence of the individual from the collective unconscious. That terrifying moment when the soul begins to speak its own language instead of merely echoing the tribe's ancient dialect. The tribe noticed. They always do. There's a particular kind of silence that falls when you ask the wrong questions at the dinner table. It's heavier than absence. It's the presence of disapproval, thick as smoke. I learned to recognize that silence, to feel it settle on my shoulders like a weight I couldn't shake. They didn't understand why I needed to walk alone through the forest when there were perfectly good paths we'd all walked together for generations. They couldn't comprehend why I found their certainties insufficient, their answers incomplete. To them, my questioning felt like betrayal. To me, their acceptance felt like death. I was caught between two kinds of loneliness. The loneliness of pretending to be someone I wasn't, and the loneliness of being exactly who I was becoming. Nietzsche wrote about the man who must create his own values, who must become his own god in a world where the old gods have died. But he didn't mention how terrifying it is to stand in that empty cathedral of the self, surrounded only by echoes of your own voice. The tribe offers something precious, the illusion that we are never alone. But it demands a price, the surrender of our individual flame to the collective fire. And once you've tasted the bitter freedom of your own thoughts, once you've felt the wild electricity of an idea that belongs to you alone, that price becomes unbearable. I began to see the invisible chains, the subtle ways we police each other's dreams, the gentle violence with which we clip each other's wings. Don't get too big for your britches, they say. Don't forget where you came from. As if remembering the past required remaining imprisoned by it. The awareness was like waking up inside a dream and realizing that everyone else is still sleeping. You want to shake them awake, to show them the walls are made of paper, that the ceiling they see as sky is just another limitation. But they don't want to wake up. The dream is comfortable. The dream is safe. And suddenly you're the dangerous one. You're the one who threatens the peace, who disturbs the order, who asks too many questions and accepts too few answers. The breaking point came not with anger, but with a strange kind of relief. Like a bird that finally stops fighting the cage and realizes it can simply fly through the open door that was always there. I stopped trying to make them understand. I stopped apologizing for my questions, my restlessness, my refusal to accept their version of reality as the only truth. I stopped waiting for permission to become who I was becoming. There's a moment in every soul's journey when you realize that the approval you've been seeking was never really about love. It was about control. They want you to stay small not because they care about your happiness, but because your growth threatens their comfort. The existentialists knew this. Sartre spoke of the anxiety of freedom, the dizzying responsibility of creating meaning in a meaningless universe. But what they didn't emphasize enough is the profound loneliness of that freedom. When you choose authenticity over acceptance, you choose a path that few will understand, and fewer still will walk beside you. I learned to find companionship in silence, in the spaces between heartbeats where truth lives. I learned to listen to the voice that had been whispering beneath the noise all along, my own voice, patient and persistent as rainfall. The fire that burns in the independent soul is different from the fire that warms the tribe. It's cooler, more focused, more dangerous. It doesn't seek to consume everything around it. It seeks to illuminate what others prefer to leave in shadow. Now I walk through the world like a man carrying his own light. The darkness doesn't frighten me anymore because I've learned to see what it contains. I've learned that isolation isn't emptiness. It's space. Space for thoughts to grow, for dreams to take shape, for the authentic self to unfold like a night-blooming flower. The tribe still calls to me sometimes. There are moments when I hear their laughter carried on the wind, when I smell the familiar smoke of their gathering fires, and something in me aches for that simple belonging. But I know now that I can never go back, not because I'm not welcome, but because I no longer fit the shape they need me to fill. Jung called it individuation, the process by which one becomes who they truly are, separate from the collective identity. It's the hero's journey turned inward, the quest for the treasure that can only be found by traveling the road no one else will take. Independence isn't rebellion for its own sake. It's rebellion for the sake of truth. It's the refusal to accept borrowed dreams, second-hand values, inherited limitations. It's the courage to write your own story in a world that would rather you read from the script they've already prepared. There's a particular kind of strength that grows in solitude. It's not the loud strength of the crowd, not the borrowed courage of collective action. It's quieter, steadier, more dangerous to those who profit from our conformity. It's the strength of the man who knows himself, who needs no mirror but his own conscience, no applause but the satisfaction of living authentically. If you've ever felt this shift, if you've outgrown the lies, the masks, the tribe, then this space is yours. A place for quiet awakenings, for dangerous questions, and for truths too heavy for the crowd. Subscribe, or don't. But if you do, don't do it for me. Do it because something in you refuses to go back to sleep.